My name is Luisa, and I'm super happy to be here. It is my fourth time speaking on a Content Square event, so I understand that you have had enough of me, and that is why Joanna is going to talk a little bit about what betting on the right pace means for us at LeoVegas. But before that, let me tell you a little bit about our industry and our name. So as you can see, LeoVegas, Leo from Latin word for lion, stands for the king of the animal kingdom. And then we have Vegas, short for Las Vegas, which is at the center of casino entertainment. So in essence, our name stands for the king of the casino. So until about 3 decades ago, the only way to place a bet was to visit physical casino, horse racing track, a poker room, or a studio. And the movement that culminated in the iGaming industry today began in 1990s with telephone betting. And the first online gaming venue opened in Liechtenstein in 1994. It's also worth mentioning that while gambling refers to any form of betting, the iGaming is exclusively digital, so referring only to betting done on computers and mobile devices. So what can I tell you about our industry? As mentioned, it is very young. It's been around only for 35 years. It is extremely competitive. I have not seen such protections against intellectual property in any other industry. And here, any differentiator is extremely valuable since the experience is very similar between the operators. It's rapidly growing. As you can see on the chart, the global online gambling market was estimated to reach $100 billion by the end of this year, with annual growth rate of around 11%, leading to a projected market size of almost $170 billion by 2030. That's like a lot. And it is also heavily regulated. Not anyone can place a bet. You need to go through a complex process of verification to ensure that you are who you say you are and that you have enough funds to be able to play. The legal, compliance, and responsible gaming teams are very prominent in any iGaming organization. At LeoVegas, if you guys help me with the slide, we have 3 products. So we have slots and jackpot games. We have over 5,000 different games that are provided by 100 different providers. And then we have a live casino with table games such as blackjack and roulette. As you can see, there we have a real person who's narrating the play. And then within sports, which relies on odds, we have great variety of different sports. My personal favorite is Formula 1, but the most popular sport to bet on is football, and also horse racing, which is quite popular both here in Sweden, but also in the UK, where even the king bets on horses. A little bit more about us. We have generated around $520 million last year in net revenue. We're present in 10 different jurisdictions, and we have around 2,000 employees. Our brands include LeoVegas, XBet, BetUK, Pink Casino, BetMGM, Royal Panda, SlotBoss, 21.co.uk, and GoGo Casino. Now at LeoVegas, since we are a pure player, all our sales are digital. So just the organizational setup is purely fascinating thing, because now suddenly this digital team is over 2,000 strong. So just to let you know, we have 50 different websites that we work with and 50 different apps. We have around 400 developers, and our product and tech division is more than half of the company. Just in July, we deployed 500 tickets. So as mentioned, it is a very fast-moving environment. We launch markets, brands, we do replatforming in record-breaking times. So that's why it's often hard to release validation in that fast process. It is more ship and pray kind of situation. So try to imagine when the whole organization is this digital team, then you structure differently. And when speaking of structure, here is our team. So digital analytics and CRO team at LeoVegas consists of two different sub-teams. You can see the analysis and the experimentation sub-team that Joanna is leading. And we also have two developers, our front-end and QA. So now I'm going to hand over to Joanna.
Thank you, Louisa. So I'm here to talk about how slowing down accelerates your customer experience wins. So when talking about A/B testing, most of the conversations are about the search for wins, and that matters. But today I want to show you something different and how testing doesn't just make us data-driven. It helps us reduce risk, avoid painful reversals, and move faster in the long run to stay competitive. So Stephanie Liu wrote an article on the feature factory. That's when your team is shipping nonstop, release notes are long, and the backlog is moving. But customers barely notice anything, and the business outcomes stay flat. And leadership keeps pushing why nothing is changing. So a team can look busy and productive, but without a clear strategy, focus, or research, they end up stuck in a cycle of low-impact releases that don't move the business or help the customers. Harvard Business School analyzed 100,000 experiments, and the insight they had was that 1 in 10 experiments produce a winning result. The risk with this, 90% of the times, it's wasted effort and resources, and it could potentially harm your business revenue. At LeoVegas, like Louisa just said, we started just recently with release validation experiments. In practice, it's the same thing as an A/B test, but it doesn't necessarily require a hypothesis that aims to improve your customer journey or your main KPIs. Instead, we release what we already have planned in the roadmap, but we do it together with guardrail metrics to make sure that we at least don't harm the customer experience. So is the experimentation industry splitting in two? For years, tools like Optimizely and VWO sold us on the idea that experimentation was for the search of wins, chasing uplifts and improving conversion. And that's still valuable, but it framed experimentation as a siloed activity that you do on the margins. Today we're seeing a new value proposition emerge. Acquisitions like Statsig by OpenAI and Apple by Datadog show that the real value of experimentation is shifting into product and engineering. So it's less about finding wins and more about doing no harm. But how do we then tackle this statement? I don't know about you out here, but this has been one of my biggest challenges in 6 years of experimentation at LeoVegas. Stakeholders already knowing what they're about to ship, that it will be good. Usually because they've seen the design and it looks so much better than we already have, what we already have in production. And from that perspective, why waste time and resources on an A/B test that will just prolong the feature of hitting the users to 100%? But as we just saw from the research, 1 out of 10 times it works, but 9 out of 10 times it could quietly hurt the customer experience, which in turn could quietly hurt your main business KPIs. And when it does, it will cost you much more than the time and resources you would have spent on the A/B test. So I want to show you how we at LeoVegas started to break free from this shipping illusion and how we will continue to work. So first I want to show you a timeline and visualize this by timeline. So this is what it could look like. We have customer complaints or drop in conversion somewhere. We create a new design and we ship it into production to 100% of our users, and the problem is solved. After this, no one really knows what happens unless there is an obvious bug somewhere or we do a post-release analysis, but we're already on to the next release. With an A/B test, it usually takes up to around 2 to 3 weeks before the feature goes live to 100% of the customer, if it's a winning result. But skipping A/B test rarely saves time. It just shifts the cost into the future. And to show you what I mean, I will soon zoom out from these two timelines with a real use case from LeoVegas earlier this year. But I want to just give you the background first. So this is the first step of our acquisition form. Customer support had received complaints about users signing up, creating an account with a wrong welcome offer. A welcome offer is something in the iGaming industry that you get only when you create your account. So this had created additional workload for customer support and frustration for our users. And you can see up here where we let our users choose which welcome offer they want. So the solution we came up with was to add a confirmation step at the end of the sign-up form, allowing showing them which welcome offer they had selected and allowing them to change welcome offer if they wanted to. And this should, of course, lead to fewer mistakes by the user and less customer support tickets, right? I will show you the result, what happened. So in mid-February, this confirmation step was released. Somewhere in April, Slack threads were started to be created. Customer support reported an increase of users without a welcome offer. So the first issue we had was users signing up with the wrong welcome offer. Now they didn't have any welcome offer. So was this a tracking issue or, yeah. In May, the Slack detective works begin at LeoVegas. We have around 10 plus people involved, 80 plus comments in long Slack threads. And the Zero team gets involved to investigate why this is happening. Business analysts get involved in why this is happening. And this insight generates a new hypothesis. So we line up with our design team to create a new design for a new hypothesis. And we create a ticket for our engineers to develop the experiment. And then the Swedish summer hits. And the ticket lays in the backlog for 2 months. Finally, in September this year, we picked up the ticket and we started working on it. And just now, in the beginning of October, we released the A/B test. 8 months. So just to show you a bit what the insights showed us. In the previous flow, we saw very little activity in the drop-down that we had. And this we already knew when people had their first issue to select the wrong welcome offer. But we did see a lot of activity on this last confirmation page, which suggested that the issue wasn't due to visibility or confusion. This last step created a deliberative moment of active choice. So here's the new hypothesis. And as you can see, we kept the last step. We made it more clear which offer you had selected, and we decreased the prominence of the no welcome offer selection. So now I will show you a hypothetical timeline of what this could have looked like if we were have to run this test, this release as an experiment from the start. So the release was still done in mid-February, and with the amount of traffic we have, 2 weeks would have been enough to make a statistically significant conclusion. In the beginning of March, we could have started the analysis and made the decision not to implement, but to iterate. We would have found the same issue that we found in May when the Zero team was involved. And as you can see, we could have developed the iteration by the end of March and discover the same insight that we will just in time when I get back from this conference now in October. So by adding A/B testing earlier in the product cycle, we allow ourselves to fail fast, learn and iterate. And this way we spend our time and resources on the things that really matter. And that's how we build stakeholder trust. So I just wanted to visualize the invisible weight of wasted resources. If we're right, an experiment can delay a good customer experience by 2 to 3 weeks. But if we're wrong, skipping that experiment can lock in bad customer experience for months, while our support team drown in tickets. The users suffer, and we spend our resources on Slack investigations, Jira tickets, and continuous feature shipping with low impact. So I will share with you how we started to break free from this cycle. We started by setting a goal. We want to test 5% of our Jira tickets. In Q3 2024, we failed. We were going into projects too late, so we were trying to push experimentation onto already set project plans. In Q4, we had some progress, but the experimentation team was still pushing alone for this. We realized we need to pivot. So we aligned with a team that we already know care about data and who we have worked closely with on the analysis part, but haven't yet done many A/B tests with. And this team became our experimentation ambassadors by their data-driven mindset and the sheer number of experiments and insights we generated together. In Q1, Q2, and Q3, we reached our goal. But as you could see on our timeline, we're still on this journey. So today, before we started this, almost all of our experiments were driven by the experimentation team. And today, over 50% are initiated by or driven by a product team. So what's next for us? We need to celebrate the outcomes rather than the outputs. And we can do this by framing everything in terms of a problem to solve as opposed to a feature to build. So picking just one team and one roadmap item in the beginning is enough to start. And framing it, instead of framing things as changing our onboarding flow, we frame it as reduced drop-off from step 1 to step 3 by 5%. So this will help teams find smarter tweaks to reach this target. So I talked about communication and building stakeholder trust, and I want to share with you what we have as our main communication forums at LeoVegas. So we have a weekly experimentation planning together with product managers. We have an open event for experimentation forum where anyone in the company is welcome, and we share results, but we also let them have this interactive session where they get to vote on these results. We have heat meets to generate new ideas and cross-functional testing forum for anyone working with experimentation to share learnings with each other. So to wrap up, fast-forwarding customer experience is not about chasing hunches or rushing change out the door. It's about moving fast in the right direction with confidence. So if you want to join us in this journey, my recommendations are to start upstream, add testing earlier in the product cycle, Find your ambassadors, just like we did. Use small and fast experiments for quick feedback loops. This allows you to show value quickly and create the stakeholder trust. And don't just share the numbers. Show them what impact it had on the product and on your customers. Finally, celebrate the negatives. These are the ones that save the most customer experience pain and the receipt that you reduced risk for your company. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for listening to us today.